Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Radhanat Radha Radhanat Radhe, Jaya Nitai Gaura Hari Nitai Gaura Hari Gaura Hari, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki Jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So Hare Krishna and welcome to this Sunday morning program. Today we are reading from Krishna book and it's chapter 64, the story of King Niga. So before we do that, I'd like to humbly beg your blessings so that I may be able to say something that is pleasing to the heart. So the Vedic literatures are like an ocean, and like deep within the ocean, we find real gems. Similarly, if we want to find the gems that are located within the Vedic scripture, we have to dive deep. And in this pastime of the story of King Niga, there are many lessons to be learned. So, firstly, before we even begin reading about King Niga, we'll just do a little historical background to see who was King Niga. So, in the beginning of creation, is Lord Vishnu, and he lies within the Garbhodak ocean, and from him there's a lotus flower. From his navel a lotus flower appears, and on that lotus flower is the secondary creator, Lord Brahma. And Brahma begins his creation, and from his mental sons he created 10 mental sons, and one of them was Marichi. And Marichi, he then went on to Father Kashyapa Muni. And from Kashyapa Muni came Vivasan. Vivasan is the Manu. And from Vivasan, then we have Ishvaku. And King Niga was the 7th son of Ishvaku. So, this is the dynasty in which King Niga belonged to. Right, so chapter 64, the story of King Niga. But before we do that, let's offer some obeisances. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vastacha Deshatarine. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmenitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitam Cha. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandhu, Jagatpate, Gopisha, Gopika, Kanta, Radha, Kanta, Namaste. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe, Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu, Sute Devi, Pranamami, Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So once the family members of Lord Krishna, such as Samba, Pradyumna, Charu, Bhanu, and Gada, all the princes of the Yadu dynasty, went for a long picnic in the forest near Dwarika. In the course of their excursion, all of them became thirsty, and so they tried to find out where water was available in the forest. When they approached a well, they found no water in it, but on the contrary, within the well, there was a wonderful living entity. It was a large lizard, and all of them were astonished to see such a wonderful animal. They could understand that the animal was trapped and could not escape by his own effort. So, out of compassion, they tried to take the large lizard out of the well. Unfortunately, they could not get the lizard out, even though they tried to do so in many ways. So, we can understand from this pastime, there's a lizard involved. Now, in our scriptures, there are many stories about lizards. And before we get into this one about King Niga, I'll tell you a little pastime about Kanchipuram. Now, when you go to visit Kanchipuram, there's this wonderful deity of Lord Varadaraj. And it's said that Lord Varadaraj, he's an expansion of Lord Vishnu and obviously an expansion of Lord Krishna. So it's mentioned that whatever you desire, when you go to Lord Varadaraj, you can express that desire, and the Lord, he fulfills that desire. That's why his name is Lord Varadaraj. And there are many, many pastimes where Lord Varadaraj actually reciprocates and talks to his devotees. But there's one pastime where actually when you go to visit Lord Varadaraj, the pujaris will tell you, once you take darshan of Lord Varadaraj, you go a little outside the temple room, and there's a staircase that you climb up, and there you take darshan of a lizard. Actually, it's two small lizards. They are deities that have manifested as lizards. And the story behind that is that Sage Bringi had two sons, and he sent them to the Gurukul of Sage Vashishta. And these boys were young, frivolous, naughty, and so they engaged in service to their guru, that is Sage Vashishta. And one day, Sage Vashishta asked them to fetch some water. So they went to the river and brought some water back to the guru, and they handed it to him. And this guru, he saw in that water was the body of a dead lizard. So he was very angry, and he cursed them to become lizards. Right? So then these boys, obviously, it was an innocent mistake on their part, and they prayed then to Vashishta how to get relieved of this curse. And then Sage Vashishta told them, you go to Kanchipuram and you take darshan of Lord Varadaraj, and you pray to him, and if he is merciful, he will deliver you of this curse. Right? So then they went all over the universe now searching for this place called Kanchipuram. And eventually they ended up in South India, in Kanchipuram. And they took darshan of Lord Varadaraj, and they were able to speak to him. So then they prayed to Lord Varadaraj that, please deliver us of this curse in this lizard body. So Lord Varadaraj was very pleased with them, and he said to them that your souls will go back to the spiritual world. Right? But your bodies will remain in this temple. And that's how these lizard bodies have manifested within the temple of Varadaraj. And many people, Lord Varadaraj told them, many people will come to take my darshan, and then they will touch you. And they will remember the most important thing is that you, these two lizards he's talking about now, were inattentive in your devotional service. Because they fetched the water, that was the service that the Guru had asked them, but they didn't look. In that bucket was this lizard. So they were inattentive in their devotional service. So in that way, people will be reminded to be attentive in whatever service they perform to Guru or the Supreme Lord. So, and also when they touch your bodies, then they will be free from any negative vibrations that are within their aura. So this was the benediction given by Lord Varadaraj. And to this day, if you ever go to take darshan of Lord Varadaraj, we were there in 2018, and the pujari will tell you, once you take darshan of Lord Varadaraj, then just go outside. There's this little temple of the two lizards, and you must take darshan of them as well. So the lesson we learn from that is that one should be very, very attentive when we are engaging in devotional service. Right. So that, the reason I related that pastime to you is because it closely related to this story of King Niga. Somehow, he also was inattentive in his service. Right. So, coming back, when the princes returned home, their story was narrated before Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is the friend of all living entities. Therefore, after hearing the appeal from his sons, he personally went to the well and easily got the great lizard out simply by extending his left hand. Immediately upon being touched by the hand of Lord Krishna, that great lizard gave up its lizard shape and appeared as a beautiful demigod, an inhabitant of the heavenly planets. His complexion glittered like molten gold. He was decorated with fine garments, and he wore costly ornaments around his neck. How the demigod had been obliged to accept the body of a lizard was not a secret to Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna, he knows everything. Right? But the Lord inquired, "My dear fortunate demigod, now I see that your body is so beautiful and lustrous. Who are you? We can guess that you are one of the best demigods in the heavenly planets. All good fortune to you. I think that you are not meant to be in this situation. It must be due to the results of your past activities that you were put into the species of lizard life. Still, I want to hear from you how you were put into this position. If you think that you can disclose this secret, then please tell us your identity." So actually, this large lizard was King Niga. And when questioned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he immediately bowed down before the Lord, touching to the ground the helmet on his head, which was dazzling as the sunshine. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki Jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So in this way, he first offered respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord. He then said, "My dear Lord, I am King Niga, the son of King Ishvaku. If you have ever taken any account of all charitably disposed men, I am sure you must have heard my name. My Lord, you are the supreme witness. You are aware of every bit of work done by the living entities, past, present, and future. Nothing can be hidden from you, your eternal cognizance. Still, you have ordered me to explain my history, and I shall therefore narrate the full story." So King Niga is now going to explain his story. But before he starts that, let us just look at this pastime so far. Now, the Lord is very, very merciful. He can give his mercy to us if the devotees request on our behalf. Now we see here that the devotees, all the princes of Dwarika, they expressed the position of this lizard, and the Lord immediately reciprocated. Right? So in the same way, when the devotees request on our behalf for the Lord to give his mercy, whether you're a human being or in whatever condition you may be, even a lizard, Krishna will mercifully give his association, give his darshan, and most importantly, bestow his mercy upon us, especially if recommended by a devotee. Right? And the topmost devotee is Srimati Radharani. So when she recommends, then Krishna cannot say no. Right? So that's one point. And secondly, we see from this pastime that Krishna, he picked up this lizard with his left hand. Right? Generally, all auspicious things you do with your right hand. And here he picked up this lizard with his left hand. You do almost all abominable things, inauspicious things with your left hand. Right? So why is that? Right? Generally, we do most abominable things with the left hand. So by picking up this lizard with the left hand, Krishna is demonstrating that this personality in this body was not pure, right? So how not pure? We will go through this now. But firstly, the most important lesson we learn here is that when this demigod or King Niga, now in the form of the demigod, he addressed Krishna. And what did he say? He said, "My Lord, you are aware of every bit of work done by the living entities." Right? And then he said, "If you have ever taken account of anyone that is charitably disposed, right, my name will come up." So what is that? That is pride. Right? So he's coming before the Supreme Lord and he's addressing him, but yet he's saying, "I have done so much of charity that you must have heard about me." Right? So that's why now the Krishna lifted him with his left hand, showing that this person still has his material conditions. Right? So let's proceed further. King Niga proceeded to narrate the history of his degradation caused by karmakanda activities. He said he had been very charitably disposed and had given away so many cows that the total was equal to the number of particles of dust on the earth, stars in the sky, and drops of water in a rainfall. So, yes, he had performed lots of charity, equivalent to the particles of dust on earth. Now, we can't count the particles of dust on earth. We can't count the drops of rainfall and the drops of water in a rainfall. So he's expressing this pride in terms of the amount of charity that he had performed. Right. So according to Vedic ritualistic ceremonies, a man who is charitably disposed is recommended to give cows to the Brahmins. From King Niga's statement, it appears that he followed this principle earnestly. However, as a result of a slight discrepancy, he was forced to take birth as a lizard. Therefore, it is recommended by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita that one who is charitably disposed and desires to derive the benefit of his charity should offer his gifts to please Krishna. To give charity means to perform pious activities by which one may be elevated to the higher planetary systems. But promotion to the heavenly planets is no guarantee that one will never fall down. Rather, the example of King Niga definitely proves that fruitive activities, even if very pious, cannot give us eternal blissful life. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the result of work, either pious or impious, is sure to bind a man unless the work is discharged as yajna on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, King Niga was a perfect karmakanda person. Right? He followed the scriptures very meticulously. And through his charitable work, he had this expectation by following the scripture that I am going to get some material benefit. And of course, we saw his boastful attitude. So, despite having meticulously performed all the charity, he unknowingly performed a mistake which he was punished for. Right. King Niga said that the cows he had given in charity were not ordinary cows. Each one was very young and given birth to only one cow. They were full of milk, very peaceful and healthy. All the cows were purchased with money earned legally. Furthermore, their horns were gold-plated, their hooves were bedecked with silver plating, and they were covered with necklaces and with silken wrappers embroidered with pearls. He stated that these variably decorated cows had not been given to any worthless persons, but had been distributed to first-class Brahmins. So he was following the scriptures to the T. The Brahmins were well qualified, and since none of them were rich, their family members were always in want for necessities of life. A real Brahmin never hoards money for luxurious life, like the Kshatriyas or the Vaishyas, but always keeps himself poverty-stricken, knowing that money diverts the mind of the materialistic person. Right, so we see here that King Niga, he performed his sacrifices or his charitable activities in a very meticulous manner, but it was also the karma kanda activities of the Vedas. Right. So, in Bhagavad Gita, it's mentioned ashradaya hutam datam tapastatvam kritam yachat asad iti uchate pata nacha tat pratayaho ita. Excuse me, and the translation of that, anything done as sacrifice, charity or penance without faith in the Supreme, O son of Pritha, is impermanent. It's called asat and is useless both in this lifetime and in the next. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, he writes, anything done Anything done without the transcendental objective, whether it be sacrifice, charity, or penance, is useless. Therefore, in this verse, it is declared that such activities are abominable. Everything should be done for the Supreme in Krishna consciousness. So, Niga, he was not giving charity to the Vaishnavas, he was giving charity to the Brahmins. Now, if you give charity to the Vaishnavas, then they automatically hand it over to Krishna, who is the real owner. Right? So, in this way, there is no reaction. Right? So, now the question is, how then did King Niga get this mercy where he had the darshan of Lord Krishna? Right. The question is, how did Niga get this mercy? Now, it's described in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he mentions this, that when Niga mentioned one who hankered to have your audience, now, as a lizard, he was cursed, or rather he was punished by Lord Yamaraj to become a lizard. Just read that and then we will continue. Right. The king continued, in spite of all this, now he is charitably disposed, he's giving cows to the Brahmins. Unfortunately, one of the Brahmins' cows that I had given in charity chanced to enter amongst my other cows. Knowing this, I gave it in charity to another Brahman. Right. As the cows were being taken away by this Brahman, its former master claimed it as his own, stating, this cow was formerly given to me, so how is it that you are taking it away? Thus, they were arguing and fighting between the two Brahmins. And they came before me, so they came before King Niga, and charged that I had taken back a cow that I had previously given in charity. To give something to someone and then take it back is considered a great sin, especially in dealing with a Brahman. So, this is another point that we have to learn, which later Lord Krishna will explain to his devotees in Dwarika, is how to deal with Brahmins. We have to be very, very careful. The Brahmins are very, very dear to Lord Krishna. So we have to be very careful in how we deal with them. So when both Brahmins charged the king with the same complaint, he was simply puzzled as to how it had happened. Therefore, with great humility, the king offered each of them 100,000 cows in exchange for the one cow, right, that was causing the fight between them. He prayed to them that he was their servant and that there had been some mistake. Thus, in order to rectify it, he prayed that they be very kind upon him and accept his offer in exchange for the cow. The king fervently appealed to the Brahmins not to cause his downfall into hell because of this mistake. So a Brahman's property is called Brahmaswa, and according to Manu's law, it cannot be acquired even by the government. Both Brahmins, however, insisted that the cow was theirs and could not be taken back under any condition. Neither of them agreed to exchange it for 100,000 cows. Thus, disagreeing with the king's proposal, the two Brahmins left the place in anger, thinking that their lawful position had been usurped. So, after this incident, when the time came for the king to give up his body, he was taken before Yamaraj, the superintendent of death, who asked him whether he first wanted to enjoy the results of his pious activities or suffer the results of his impious activities. Seeing that the king had executed so many pious activities and charities, Yamaraj also hinted that he did not know the limit of the king's future enjoyment. In other words, there would be practically no end to the king's material happiness. But in spite of this, the king, bewildered, decided to suffer the results of his impious activities and then accept the results of his pious activities. Therefore, Yamaraj immediately turned him into a lizard. Right. So we can see from this that even at this point, the king did not understand. Right. When he was given the choice by Yamaraj, he still wanted to enjoy in this material world. So he decided, okay, I'll choose the hellish activities first and get over that, and then enjoy in the heavenly planets. Right? So King Niga had remained in the well as a big lizard for a very long time. Now we see he was the son of King Ishvaku. Right? So from Satyug, now he's in Dwapar Yuga. So how many millions of years he has been in this well as a lizard, right? He told Krishna, in spite of being put into this degraded condition of life, I simply thought of you, my dear Lord, and my memory was never vanquished. It appears from these statements of King Niga that persons who follow the principle of fruitive activities and derive some material benefits are not very intelligent. Right? Being given the choice by the superintendent of death, Yamaraj, King Niga could have first accepted the results of his pious activities. Instead, he thought it better to receive the effects of impious activities and then enjoy the effects of pious activities without disturbance. On the whole, he had not developed Krishna consciousness, right? Because he was still wanting to enjoy his material life. The Krishna conscious person develops love of God, Krishna, not love for pious and impious activities. Therefore, he is not subjected to the results of such action. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, a devotee, by the grace of the Lord, is not subjected to the reactions of fruitive activities. So, then the question is, if he was not a Krishna conscious person, he had not developed his Krishna consciousness to such an extent, how then did he get the mercy where he got the darshan of the Lord? And in the purport of Canto 10, chapter 64, text 28, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti writes that when Niga mentioned one who hankered to have your audience, so he was in this body of a lizard for a long time. Right? And in that time, he had lots of time to contemplate. And then he hankered for the appearance of the Lord. He hankered to take darshan of the Lord. But what gave him that hankering? That is most important, right? He had performed charitable activities, giving cows to the Brahmins, right? But these were not Vaishnavas, they were normal Brahmins, right? But one day, it's mentioned that a devotee came to him, and this devotee wanted to build a temple for Lord Govinda, right? And he also wanted to distribute scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So being very generous, Nriga arranged for these things. And the devotee was so satisfied that he blessed the king. My dear king, may you have audience of the Supreme Lord. And from that time, King Nriga, he desired to see the Lord. So we can understand from this one activity King Nriga had performed, where he gave some charity to build the temple of the Lord, and also he distributed, through this devotee, he distributed Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So that one act of charity gave him the darshan of the Lord. And now, this month is the auspicious month of Srila Prabhupada's book marathon. So one act of charity of King Nriga gave him the darshan of Lord Krishna. So all of us should be engaged in Srila Prabhupada's book marathon. And how much more merciful is the Lord. One act that King Nriga performed gave him darshan of the Lord. So distributing Srimad Bhagavatam, distributing Bhagavad Gita during this book marathon, how much more auspicious and how much more merciful it is to the devotees, right? So what do we understand so far from this story? That King Nriga, he did so much of charity, but it did not save him from becoming a lizard. Right? It did not save him from being punished. Yet, the devotees of Lord Krishna, they are so merciful and helpful that they arranged for this lizard to be delivered by asking Krishna to give him the mercy of being released, right? So we see that getting or performing activities in the karma kanda aspect of the Vedas does not guarantee us deliverance from this material world. We see that King Nriga, it did not save him from becoming a lizard. But yet, we look in the pastime of the Govardhan hill. The devotees engaged in devotional service to Lord Krishna. Just before Indra had arranged for the downpour, the Vrajvasis, they within each home, just before the door of their home, they engaged beautiful rangolis. Right? And then, when this downpour happened, and Krishna lifted Govardhan hill, and of course all the Vrajvasis were situated under that hill, during that downpour, none of those rangolis were destroyed, because it was arranged by Krishna for his, it was arranged by the Vrajvasis for the pleasure of Krishna. So none of that was destroyed. We even look in Ram Leela. Hanuman's tail was lit by Ravana. He destroyed the entire Lanka, burning Lanka with his tail. But not a piece of hair on Hanuman's tail was destroyed. So how merciful is the Lord? So therefore, we should take shelter of the Lord in devotional service. We should perform devotional service to the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned, in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's mentioned, Canto 2, Chapter 3, Text 10. Akama sarva kama moksha kama udaradi. Trivyena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. And the translation of that is, A person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of material desire, without any material desire, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. So, whatever situation we are in, whatever situation, whether we are in a material condition, conditioned souls, or whether we are Vaishnavas, liberated devotees, any situation, just take shelter of the Supreme Lord and engage in devotional service. Right? So King Niga continued, having attained the body of a demigod, King Niga continued to remember everything said. He said, "My dear Lord, you are the Supreme Lord and are worshipped by all the demigods. You are not one of the ordinary living entities. You are the Supreme Person, Purushottama. You are the source of all happiness for all living entities. Therefore, you are known as Govinda. You are the Lord of all those living entities who have accepted material bodies and those who are not yet accepted material bodies." So among the living entities who have not accepted material bodies are those who hover in the material world as evil spirits or live in the ghostly atmosphere. However, those who live in the spiritual kingdom, the Vaikunthas, have bodies not made of material elements. You, my Lord, are infallible. You are the supreme, the purest of all living entities. You live in everyone's heart. You are the shelter of all living entities, Narayan. Being seated in the heart of all living beings, you are the supreme director of everyone's sensual activities. Therefore, you are called Rishikesha. My dear Supreme Lord, because you have given me this body of a demigod, I will go to some heavenly planet. So I am taking this opportunity to beg for your mercy. I pray that I may have the benediction of never forgetting your lotus feet. No matter to which form of life or planet I may be transferred, you are the all-pervading, present everywhere as cause and effect. You are the cause of all causes, and your power is unlimited. You are the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Supreme Brahman. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you again and again, my dear Lord. Your body is full of transcendental bliss and knowledge, and you are eternal. You are the master of all mystic powers, and therefore you are known as Yogeshwara. Kindly accept me as an insignificant dust at your lotus feet. So, the Srimad Bhagavatam is actually a narration of pastimes of the devotees in association with the Supreme Lord. And after those pastimes, they offer wonderful prayers to the Supreme Lord, like how here King Niga is offering this prayer. And it's through these prayers that we get to understand the heart of a devotee. Right? So it's important for us to continuously read Srimad Bhagavatam, read the prayers that are offered by all the devotees of the Lord. And in that way, we will understand the heart of the devotees that are engaged in service to the Lord. Right. So, from this pastime, we can understand very important is karma kanda is engaging in pious activities with expectation of a reward in return from the Lord or his appointed representatives, the demigods. Now, this is an authorized process given in the Vedic scriptures, and therefore it is valid. It is very attractive to the conditioned souls. And in that conditioned state, the souls are very materially conscious. They desire the pomp and opulence, and this becomes very dear to them. And King Niga, he here in this pastime, he's being used as an example that although karma kanda may be attractive, it cannot give us or bring us to the position of transcendence, right? The transcendental nature. We have to look beyond the activities of karma kanda and take to the process of devotional service. So, devotional service is the solution to all the problems of human existence. Now, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna, he says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yas chasme tatvata. Tato mam tatvato natva vishate tat antaram. And the translation of that is, one can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So, devotional service is very simple, and it's the most purifying service, and it comes naturally to the living entity. So we should all engage in devotional service. Now another aspect of this pastime is that the Brahmins are very, very dear to Lord Krishna, and we should be very, very careful in our dealings with the Brahmins. That we see here that King Niga, although he performed so many charitable activities, the Brahmins were upset. So, due to that, he had to face this hellish condition. And Krishna says, I'll just read to you Krishna's instructions to his devotees in Dwarika relating to the Brahmins. At this time, Lord Krishna was present among his relatives who were members of the Kshatriya class to teach them through the exemplary character of King Niga. He said, even though a Kshatriya may be a king, may be as powerful as fire, it is not possible for him to usurp the property of a Brahman and utilize it for his purpose. If this is so, how can ordinary kings who falsely think themselves the most powerful beings within the material world usurp a Brahman's property? I do not think that taking a poison is as dangerous as taking a Brahman's property. For ordinary poison, there is treatment. One can be delivered from its effects. But if one drinks the poison of taking a Brahman's property, there is no remedy for the mistake. The perfect example is King Niga. He was very powerful and very pious, but due to a small mistake of unknowingly usurping a Brahman's cow, he was condemned to the abominable life of a lizard. Ordinary poison affects only those who drink it. An ordinary fire can be extinguished simply by pouring water on it. But the arani, the fire ignited by the spiritual potency of a Brahman who is dissatisfied, can burn to ashes the whole family of a person who provokes such a Brahman. So, formerly the Brahmins used to ignite the fire of sacrifice not with matches but with external fire by the powerful mantras called arani. Right. We know in the Radha Raman temple, the fire that was lit by the Brahmins is still continuing to exist. And that's used to prepare all the prasadam for the deity Radha Raman. Right. So if someone even touches a Brahman's property, his family is ruined for 3 generations. However, if a Brahman's property is forcibly taken away, the taker's family for 10 generations before him and 10 generations after will be subject to ruination. On the other hand, if someone becomes a pure Vaishnava or devotee of the Lord, 10 generations of his family before his birth and 10 generations after will be liberated. So, a Vaishnava is far more superior to a Brahman. Right? Even though Brahmins are very, very dear to Lord Krishna, the Vaishnavas are far more dear. Right? So Lord Krishna continued, if some foolish king who is puffed up by his wealth, prestige and power wants to usurp a Brahman's property, he should be understood to be clearing his path to hell. He does not know how much he has to suffer for such an unwise act. If someone takes the property of a real Brahman who is encumbered by a large dependent family, then such a usurper is put into a hell known as Kumbhipaka. Not only is he put into this hell, but his family members also have to accept such a miserable condition of life. So ordinarily, a person who takes away a Brahman's property, whether it's originally given to him by someone or given by him to someone else, is condemned to live at least 60,000 years as miserable insect in stool. Therefore, I instruct you, all my boys and relatives present here, do not, even by mistake, take the possession of a Brahman and thereby pollute your whole family. If someone even wishes to possess such a property, let alone attempts to take it away by force, the duration of his life will be reduced. He will be defeated by his enemies, and being bereft of his royal position, when he gives up his body, he will become a serpent, giving trouble to all those other living entities. My dear boys and relatives, so this is Lord Krishna instructing his devotees in Dwarika. I therefore advise you that even if a Brahman becomes angry with you and calls you by ill names or curses you, still you should not retaliate. On the contrary, you should smile, tolerate him, and offer your respects to the Brahman. You may very well know that even I myself offer obeisances to the Brahmins, and with great respect 3 times daily. You should therefore follow my instruction and example. I shall not forgive anyone who does not follow them, and I shall punish him. You shall learn from the example of King Niga that even if someone unknowingly usurps the property of a Brahman, he is put into a miserable condition of life. So, Krishna, the Brahmins are very, very dear to Krishna. Right? He's very, very fond of the Brahmins and the cows. The Brahmins promulgate the cause of advancement in Krishna consciousness, and the cows give enough milk to maintain the body in the mode of goodness. Right? So that's why we pray, Namo Brahmanaya Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagatitya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Absolute Truth Krishna, who is the well-wisher of the cows and the Brahmins, as well as the living entities in general. I offer my repeated obeisances to Govinda, who is the pleasure for all the senses. A devotee of Krishna is very much attached to Brahmanical culture. Indeed, an expert personality who knows who Krishna is, and he wants to be a real Brahman. So from this story, we learn the importance of engaging in devotional service as compared to karmakanda activities, and also the importance of giving respect to Brahmins. that are very, very dear to Lord Krishna. So we'll stop here. Are there any comments or questions or anything anybody would like to add? Hare Krishna. If there are no comments or questions. So if there are no comments or questions, we will stop here now. Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Panchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.